when you talk about sweetness in wine, you talk about sweetness in spirits, it's legitimately that actual sweet character, that glucose, that fructose, that sucrose that you're actually getting. And this is the content of what's in in those beverages. Now, with beer, it's a little different because most of the time you're not seeing those simple sugars in there until you sort of get to the sort of, you can sometimes, but most of the time, it's not really sweetness per se. It's about carbohydrates still being in the actual beer itself, because not all the carbohydrates in beer is fermented out. And so generally, there is some level of sweetness actually there. And so what I find really cool about the sweetness here is when we take a sip, and we swallow or we spit, and we just sit our tongue, let it just sit in our head nice and level. What will happen is that if there is some carbohydrates in the beer, our tongue will start to salivate. It's like a chemical reaction that's actually happening. Now, there are some beers like our gooses, our sours, sometimes our saisons that really are incredibly dry and don't have really any carbohydrates at all, or it's incredibly minimal. But even a beer like this, which, doesn't obviously taste sweet, still has that level of carbohydrates in there. So we'd actually call this a low level of sweetness. If we did have medium, we'd actually get the sweetness would be quite noticeable. We wouldn't need that sort of chemical reaction to take place. And of course, for high, that's when it's really obvious. That's those pastry stouts where it's just like a milkshake and it's sweet and almost sickly. So that's sort of our levels there.